Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the HardBody Chronicle. Thanks for joining us again. Uh, First off, happy holidays to everybody, to you and your families. Hopefully, you'll have a good time with this time off if you had it. Um, but first and foremost, we must not forget that Thanksgiving is based on some horribly genocidal events in our nation's history. Our native populations are still dealing with the generational trauma and um, along with the ramifications of essentially being wiped out in this country during the founding of the United States. So I think it's important that we all uh, take a moment and reflect on that. Um, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's parade, but that is the basis of this holiday. And we should understand that and we should learn from it so that it never happens again. So, yeah, just want to put that out there for everyone um, to be cognizant of those things. There's a lot of shitty history in the U.S. that we need to acknowledge and learn from, so that we don't repeat it or then don't, and hopefully that it never happens ever again to any population or ethnic groups out there. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But other than that, I hope everyone had a good holiday, got some time off from work, whatever it is that you do. Yeah, hopefully you got a chance to just chill for a minute. Um, I did, so I was blessed to have that opportunity, and I do feel um, refreshed from it. So I'm grateful for that. So yeah, I mean, this is actually an impromptu podcast. I'm kind of in a transitional phase for things that I'm trying to do. Um, I keep saying this, but I am working on guests for the podcast, and it's going to happen. But that also entails upgrading some of my audio equipment, also getting some more headsets. Yeah. So um, all that stuff takes a little bit of know-how, some practice, some fine tuning, and more importantly, some money, because this shit is not cheap. So it's in the works. So just bear with me for the time being while I get it all set up. I'm definitely trying to mix it up a little bit. Um, no one's trying to just watch me talk this whole time. And I do have some interesting friends that I want to bring on, and also maybe just open it up to people here in Seattle that I know that maybe have some kind of business or product or something they're working on that they're passionate about that they want to bring on the podcast. I'd definitely be down to do that. So if you yourself know of anyone or you have a product or something you want to share with my viewers and just the general public, uh, give me a shout out. Shoot me a DM either on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Give me a shout out and we'll work it out. So, also along with the podcast, in terms of upgrading the experience for you guys, getting some props. So I don't want to say too much about what those are. They're not major, but to me, a lot of this stuff is on the details, and just having that on hand, it's going to give this more of a professional look, and it's letting you know that I'm serious about this. I'm serious about growing the brand and the movement. So just keep an eye out for that. Also, what else? In terms of actual product lines, I actually did manage to source someone to make some grappling gear. And what I mean by that is rash guards and some Valitudo shorts. So rash guards, essentially, it's like just if you're familiar with the gear that people use to train MMA or grappling, it's kind of like an Under Armour, tight fitting spandex lycra outfits. This is just good for grappling because they're not stretchy like a cotton shirt. That after a cotton shirt, you start sweating after a while. If you're grappling or you're fighting, it's easy to get a finger or a thumb stuck in cotton material that's wet, you can actually injure yourself. So the standard is to kind of wear Under Armour lycra spandex materials for grappling, just because it's just you don't get your fingers caught up in it. You don't get your gear stuck in it. So just a better, more efficient way to train. It's also fairly slick once you get nice and wet and sweaty. So it's it's just protects your skin. You don't get scratches easily. So overall, it's just a better material. So like I was saying, the rash guards, I got a rash guard and some booty shorts. A lot of you guys, I don't know if you followed old school MMA, but it used to be the norm that dudes would fight in kind of like these essentially booty shorts. Bad Boy popularized them a while ago. I'm talking like maybe like the 90s. And it makes sense because it's just, it's a tight fitting set of trunks, and in grappling, you don't want loose clothing because, like I was saying, it's easy to get a finger or a thumb stuck in there. No homo. So it's just better to have tight fitting clothing for that kind of sport. So I'm trying to bring those back. Um, my thing is, women have the best workout gear. They have the best fitting. They have the best cuts. They have all kinds of cuts, which does include the booty short. And um, I've always been jealous that men don't have that option. We can't just go buy them anywhere. You can't go to, the mall and get this stuff. You actually have to source it out somewhere, or you end up on eBay. And if you ever try searching for booty shorts on eBay for men, you're gonna have a good time, but it might be a little awkward for some of you. So, but try it out if you're bored and see what happens. Because anytime I've looked, it's always been interesting. So try it out. Anyways, yeah, like I said, I source someone that can make this stuff for me. Um, some of you may or may not know this stuff is usually outsourced overseas. So I managed to find someone. So we'll see. We'll test it out. We'll see how it goes. Depending on what kind of feedback I get, um, I might put in an order for like a bulk order so I can actually sell it or resell it to people that are interested. But I want to test it first. I'm not going to sell you crap. Like I want to make sure it's stuff that's legit and you would actually use in the gym. So if it's good enough for me, I'm hoping it's good enough for everyone else. So I'm going to try to sell you some quality items. So we'll see what happens. It takes a while to get that stuff sourced and produced and shipped out. So now it's just a waiting game. So as I get it, I'll let you guys know. If you guys have followed my social media, my HardBody social media, you already seen the mock-up. So check it out if you haven't already. Let's see. So yeah, and this is kind of I've been running into the situation where anytime I post something up, or I have like a prototype or something that I'm working on, I post it up, and then people always go, "Hey, where the fuck can I buy this?" And I'm always like, "Oh shit, I don't have more than one." So, which is good. I appreciate the love. At least that feedback is telling me that some of the crap that I'm making has an appeal, and people are getting behind the brand, even though there's nothing they can buy yet. But I'm right now. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to lay the foundation for the brand. Um, and I want to get people behind the whole hard body movement. That's what I'm doing right now. So it's I don't have a timeline for any of this. I have a job. That's my main source of income. So I'm not desperate to make this a profitable venture, at least not yet. I would like for it to blow up, and maybe I could do that full time and just stop working for the man, just like everyone's dream, right? Just to be independent and work for yourself. I mean, if that happens and this takes off, that's a blessing that I'll have to take advantage of. But for the time being, I still have a job, so I can only dedicate so much time to this thing. It's more of a passion project. that I've got worked up. So just bear with me. Like I said, right now I'm just trying to establish the name, the brand, get people behind it. Because I mean, you're not going to get rich by selling shit to your friends and family, right? Like it has to go beyond that. So that entails, just ad campaigns via social media, Google and whatnot. So that'll come in time, and that's you have to invest in that. Like it's just no, you have to invest money in that, and with the hopes that it pays off in the long term. And I haven't done that yet, but um, it's on my radar. I just haven't gotten around to it. Right now, what's fun is just kind of mocking stuff up, doing the podcast, um, refining my design skills. That's kind of part of it too. Like I'm constantly training, I'm constantly doing tutorials. You know, I'm kind of, it's almost like I'm part time back in school. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm working on, but it's going towards a bigger goal, and that's getting this brand off and launched. So it's going to happen. I don't have a timeline, but just keep up with me. And you'll see what I'm trying to do. So like I said, just I appreciate everybody who's said, hey, where can I buy that? And that it feels good to know that people do appreciate my work, and with the hopes that I'm onto something, and then maybe in the future it takes off. But again, I appreciate everybody who's been riding along with me, keeping up with the podcast, liking all my dumb shit on Instagram and Facebook. It goes a long way, and it tells me that some of it's working. So thank you, thank you. Um, so let's see. One other reason I wanted to slap this podcast together was that there was a pretty epic boxing pay per view that went down. Um, the whole thing was wild. So I mean, if you don't know already, it was Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones, and they had two headlining fights. Obviously, Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, and Nate Robinson versus Jake Paul. Overall, even the undercard was pretty good. Um, and in between fights, that have like actual rappers come out and perform. Um, it was wild because they were just rapping, uncensored lyrics, n words all over the place. It was great. It sounded like my Spotify playlist, so I appreciate that. But it was just interesting to see it. It was interesting to see the fact that this was an actual pay per view that people had to pay for to see it. And it wasn't the most refined event, but it was wild and it was fun, and that's more than I can say for a lot of pay per view events recently, especially like UFC and whatnot. So it was actually definitely entertaining to see. I do not regret a second of watching that. So, but yeah, I think the fact that Roy Jones and Tyson were in a fight in 2020 is just mind blowing. As a kid of the 80s and 90s, I mean, you saw these guys, in their primes, and you saw what they could do, and it was just you're just in awe of them. It's very similar to like having seen Michael Jordan play back in the day. Just you saw them work, and you see how they refine their craft to perfection, and just to see it actually play out in motion, um, it's a joy. It's a joy to watch that, and um, you actually kind of saw that. You saw glimpses of that during the fights, and it was as a fan, obviously I know these guys are past their prime, they're old, but they were still getting at it, and I really do appreciate that. Even though they had some weird rules, like they couldn't knock each other out, which doesn't make any sense because how do you enforce that, right? If you get dropped, like what's the ref going to stop the fight and just really DQ you? I don't know, but um, but yeah, it was wild. I'll talk about, and I'll circle back to the main event, but the co-main event was Nate Robinson and Jake Paul. I guess there was a lot of beef going on between these two. Nate Robinson is like a physical specimen. Um, he and I were actually the same graduating class. We went to the same high school, Garfield, class of 2003. And I saw him play, you know, back in high school when we were, back in high school. Um, it's funny because I played basketball. Excuse me. Sorry. Anyways, so as a kid growing up, I love basketball. I played it passionately with my friends across the neighborhoods. I loved it. I had a hoop at one point. So growing up, basketball was life. Like that's what we did. And I played elementary through middle school. Just I play with anyone, doesn't matter, pickup games or whatever in school. And then it wasn't until I got to Garfield that I realized that I kind of stopped growing. Like I was 5'9". I stopped growing, and then I realized that I had to stop playing basketball because there was nothing I could do against the people playing basketball in high school. Like it was just physically, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't. I was fast, but I couldn't jump as high. Like I get blocked all the time. Like it was just a mess. So seeing someone like Nate Robinson like actually make it to the NBA and dunk, like that's fucking wild. Like a dude, we're the same size, and this dude is dunking. So yeah, that's kind of the history that I have, the local history here in Seattle of having seen Nate Robinson in the flesh um, back in high school, following him throughout the NBA. So to see him kind of step up to fight Jake Paul was kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? Like it was surprising. Um, but I don't know if people know this. Jake Paul is actually a wrestler, so he knows the grind. He knows what it's like to be in combat sports. So if you only played, basketball or football, um, combat sports is a little different. And I think um, Snoop Dogg had the best commentary of the night. Surprisingly, it was the most astute observation the entire night. He said, "You don't play boxing. I mean, which is to say, you don't mess around when it comes to martial arts, right? Like if you're boxing, you throw a punch to knock someone out. So you don't play boxing. You play basketball, you play soccer, you play football, but you don't play boxing. So, which it's 100% true. I mean, I've seen it all the time. There's guys that come into the gym, jacked. They look like specimens, but once you get your hands on them, they don't know how to respond, and it's just different, right? Whether it's boxing or it's kickboxing or jujitsu or grappling or wrestling, all that stuff combined. Once you put it all together and you're going against someone who's trying to knock you out or break your arm or your leg, it's different. So unless unless you've experienced that for years and know that grind, it's you're gonna get hurt, and that's what happened to Nate, unfortunately. Um, so because you're good at one sport doesn't necessarily translate into another set of or another sport or combat sports in general. So, and I think that's one of the things that I've always liked about martial arts, how they differ from sports, where um, it's a different level of physicality. Like it's you're using, I mean, you're using athletics and strength and technique, but with the intentions of hurting someone versus like throwing a ball or kicking a ball or swinging a bat or whatever, right? Like you're applying your body into a technique for the sake of the sport versus this for the sake of hurting someone, and that's kind of I love sports as well, but I've always been, I like that difference between the two, and they don't really translate well towards each other. So you kind of have to just do it to really understand it. So I mean, big ups to Nate for even stepping in and doing it. I mean, getting hit in the face is not fun. Boxing fucking sucks. Like I don't like if you sparred for real, like that shit will wear you down. It will wear you down. I think more than a grappling art or a contest where it's like wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Um, Boxing is just a grind. Like it's head trauma. So it's like, man, that stuff adds up. And big ups to Nate for actually stepping up and taking the fight against Jake Paul, who's kind of legit right now because he's wrestled, he's been boxing this whole time, and he's trolling his way to success. More power to him. I think maybe, I don't know, the sense that I got is people were underestimating Jake Paul for some reason, but just because Nate Robbins is a freak. I mean, that dude can dunk, and he's my height. Like, I can barely, I can barely touch the backboard if I get like a really good running start, or the net or something like that. And this dude's fucking dunking. So again, some of those skills don't really translate to fighting, but if the fact that he did it and stepped in there, got dropped like 3 times, I mean, yeah, he didn't give up. Like, it was just, he kept getting up. So he could have just stayed down, but he got up and tried to stay in the fight. So either way, I think it ended in the second round. But it was entertaining nonetheless. Maybe not the smartest thing, and I don't know how this stuff it's even getting sanctioned. Like, are we just embracing the freak show fights now? That's what people want to see, I guess. But we'll see, and I'll be curious to see what kind of buy rates the pay per view did, because Jake Paul's a pretty big name in terms of YouTube. I mean, I don't really know what he does, but he's been boxing for a while. That's all I know. So he's definitely made a name for himself in terms of boxing for now. So we'll see. But um, so yeah, moving on to the actual main event. Um, it was, like I said earlier, it was super nostalgic, and just seeing Mike Tyson kind of move the way he did back in the day. I mean, he still looked ridiculously fast for a 50-plus-year-old. So it's kind of just seeing him just move and duck and throw the body shots is ridiculous. I got super hyped, I'll be honest. And just seeing Roy Jones too, like doing his thing, like hands behind his back and just kind of popping him, um, throwing out that weird jab that he has, kind of like a whiplash type thing. So yeah, it was tons of fun. I guess they considered it a draw, but whatever. I would like to see Mike Tyson fight again. Um, Even Roy Jones. I don't know what this Legends thing is all about, but I would definitely tune in and see what the next card would be. And I hope they keep the rap thing going, because they they actually had a decent number of performers come out, like St. John. Snoop Dogg did pretty good on his performance, and like YG and French Montana. So it's just wild. I don't know where the fuck these guys came from, but they were there, and they were just performing. So to me, it's a pretty good mix of entertainment. It's just boxing and rap music. I mean, that goes hand in hand. So, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but it was great, and I would definitely tune in again. I would definitely illegally stream this again, like I did last night. But um, they built. It seems like they're building hype to do some other events. So hopefully it goes through, because I would definitely tune in. So yeah, um, yeah, not much else going on right now. Like I said, this is just kind of an impromptu thing. I'm kind of in transition right now with some of the equipment that I've acquired to try to, um, take on some of the projects that I want to do, and also working on upgrading the audio stuff. So the podcast, bring it up to a higher level. And yeah, so I think I'm going to wrap it up. So again, uh, thank you to everybody who keeps up just keeping up with the HardBody social media. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, all your likes, signing up and subscribing to the YouTube channel. It means a lot. So thank you to all you. Blessings to all you and your families. I'll catch you later.